Hey, we're live. Happy Victory in Europe Day. Happy VE Day. Look at this, man. The New York Times actually got the story right.
It's not fake news?
Well, this one story they got right. So this is our Lock and Load Monday show. And we got some Michigan gun laws that Dusty and Squibb are going to talk about. Let's see. I want to debunk. Somebody put forward a concept in the Gun Channel's morning show that somehow the 1911 won World War II. I don't have anything against the 1911. It was the first gun I ever bought, but I don't think any handgun could possibly win a war. Because wars are fought with rifles, you know. So I don't see how a handgun could possibly make a difference if people aren't using them, you know. I mean, basically, if you have to pull your handgun in a combat zone, I mean, a lot of things have gone wrong because you should be using your rifle. Anyway, and my personal opinion on that was that out of all the things that had the biggest impact on World War II, if I had to pick one, it would be the weather. The weather had the biggest impact on World War II. You know, specifically that winter was that the Germans invaded Russia was the coldest winter in the history, like the recent history of Europe at the time, and Russian winter beat Napoleon and it beat the Germans, you know, and they had. So if I had to pick one thing, I'd say it'd be the weather. They picked the wrong country to invade, given the weather. I mean, it just, you know, everything ground to a halt in that freezing temperature. I mean, you literally had to build a campfire to take a piss, because if you did it without it, you know, the piss would freeze as soon as on contact with the air, and that could get painful and annoying. So, you know, to have a icicle hanging from your yin yang. So, and you know, back in World War II, I mean, the German army, they had armor and that was mechanized, but their supply train was horses and carts. So, you know, freezing weather, just, you know, they had no chance. Neither did Napoleon. So that would be my pick. It wouldn't be a handgun that would pick. I mean, I know that Patton said that the M1 Garand was the biggest, the best. What did he say was the best battle implement ever invented at the time?
Yeah.
And I'd say he's more of an expert than anybody who would pick a handgun for the most important battle implement. But I'm surprised you didn't pick the tank. But since he was a tanker, but I think he did kind of come up with one of the earlier concepts for a bullpup rifle. But I won't go into Tavor mode today. I did want to correct one thing I've been talking about in the pre-chat. Let me see if I can turn on my camera for a second. All right, stop the screen share, turn on the camera. So there was this movie that I had seen that we were talking about the other day. This is Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne. And I had been, I think last week or the week before, I had said that Marine gunnery sergeants aren't allowed to strike the Marine Corps people they're training. But what I meant to say was specifically referring to was that I had seen a conversation with Robert Osborne on Turner Classic Movies about the scene in this movie where the character Stryker learns that one of the guys in his outfit that he's training at camp had doped off for a cup of coffee when he was supposed to be running back to the base getting some ammo for a guy in the front line of the foxhole who wound up dying because he didn't get the ammo fast enough. So he calls him out and beats the tar out of him. And, then an officer drives by and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they both say, "Well, nothing," and So basically, Squibb was telling me that, yeah, you can get, a gunnery sergeant can like strike you or strike the cadet or, recruit in training, once or twice, as part of the training. But as far as calling somebody out and beating the stuffing out of them, that's pretty much frowned upon. And I was saying, yeah, it's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice for them to do that, but not that it never ever happens. But this was a movie, and they were trying to make the Marine Corps look good. So they I had seen that conversation on Turner Classic Movies when he was just talking to somebody in the Marine Corps, a colonel or a general or something. But obviously that was a movie that was made to make the Marine Corps look good, because it was obviously Iwo Jima was one of their stellar victories in the Pacific. So I don't know, what would you guys have picked for something that would have had the biggest impact on World War II? I mean,
I'd say the M1 Garand.
Okay, you go with Patton. Well, that put a period on it, but for sure. Dusty, you got anything? Any thoughts on that?
I'd have to agree. The M1.
Yeah, it was just to me that I would have, my second choice if it wasn't the weather. I would pick the T-34 tank, because most of the fighting was, the ground fighting was between Russia and Germany on the Eastern Front there, and that was the T-34 tanks. That had the biggest tank battle ever. I think was that the Battle of Kursk or something. So that would be like my second choice. The weather, the T-34 tank, but it definitely wouldn't be a handgun. Because we're talking about military conflicts. Okay, but speaking about handguns, Oily Pepper hasn't showed up yet, but Thursday I forgot some of my preps that I had gotten, because we were supposed to get preps for her show on Thursday. And where's my Glock? Geez, I put my Glock down for a second and it disappears. Oh, there it is. So I got one of my preps that I got was this. Let's see. Turn on my camera again. Here it is. So this is a titanium plated Glock, because it's in a titanium plate, but it's really a titanium plate. It's really lightweight. Got it for my camping, and mostly so I could put my steak, and when I walk down to the barbecue, if I drop the plate, it won't break into a million pieces like an ordinary dinner plate. But because I walk down with something to barbecue frequently, so that, and one other thing that I got. Where did it go? Oh, well, doesn't qualify as a prep, but wait, this does. Here it is. I got this ultra lightweight. It's like a silicone impregnated ripstop nylon bag. It just has this little attachment for hooking up, and it's called the Marsupial. Let's see. No, it's made in the USA, believe it or not. The company Equinox. So the whole idea is it's just lightweight, waterproof, and so whatever you need to put in here to carry from point A to point B, it's if you can't have a whole backpack, this is just your super lightweight thing, and you could clip it onto your belt. And the other thing I wanted to share with you guys that I recently picked up, especially since this is Gun Channels, is my new wallet. Let me turn on my light so you guys can see it better. NRA wallet. I know you were saying you have a problem with the NRA, Dusty, so you can tell us all about it. But the only thing that's really weird about this wallet, since 18, the only thing that's really weird about this wallet is, let's read the inside though. It's got the Second Amendment right on the inside of the wallet. I can't really read it because it looks backwards to me. But or inverted or something. But got my Florida Carry card on top, NRA card. But this wallet was actually not made in America. It was made in India. So there's a little tab on the inside that says product of India. I was like, okay, what the? It's illegal to herd a cow anywhere in India. So how do they get leather for it? So it's a pig skin. So I don't know. Anyway, all right. So that pretty much covers all the new stuff. So tell us about this new Michigan bill, and also, Dusty, you're saying you had some issue with the NRA with Colin Noir or something? Dusty, are you with us?
I keep coming in and out. Yes, I'm with you now. What was the question?
So you had sent me something on a message that you had some problem with Colin Noir or something.
Oh, yes. There was a YouTube video. It was called Black Guns Matter, and he was doing an interview with somebody. And rather than she kept calling 15 an assault rifle, and rather than correct her right off the bat, sent him a text saying that before you ever started that interview, you should have corrected her assault rifle. And every time she said it, you should have been correcting her. And he said, well, that wasn't the point I wanted to make in the interview. You start out, you make the first point right off the bat, and then you make your other points. The attitude towards it made me mad.
Well, what does that have to do with joining or not joining a Second Amendment organization? Just because...
Well, because he's one of the main representatives. People like that to represent. Yeah,
well, my opinion is that it's the idea that they're representing is too important to, let the little shit get in the way. Otherwise, I could think of 1,000 reasons not to join the NRA, but I'm re-up for another 3 years because, it's like fighting for freedom and these were like Thomas Jefferson's and Benjamin Franklin's and George Washington's, things that they fought for. So, it's just...
Well, and it used to be that way, but I'm just not sure it's that way anymore. I think they've gotten way too commercial, and a lot of the money's gone into their salaries, and more so than what they're doing. I think there might be other groups out there now that would be more beneficial to support.
Oh, you have a wide variety of choices. Definitely, there's Gun Owners of America, Florida Carry. I mean, there's a ton of groups to pick from. Like if you go to the Every Second Matter site, But it's just pretty much, all of the above when it comes to Second Amendment rights organizations myself. But I can understand, people. You have a choice. You don't have to just. It's not the NRA or the highway. So, but hey, I've got an NRA wallet. I've got, I've got I got a "Don't Tread on Me" NRA bumper sticker. I haven't put it on my car yet because people keep saying that's a bad idea to let everybody know that you could be packing or something on your bumper sticker. But, I'm like a walking, talking Second Amendment. You can't get me to shut up kind of supporter.
I like Colin Noir's videos, and I think he does some positive things to represent gun owners. And I'm an NRA member, and I intend to stay an NRA member. I've been a member off and on for different reasons, but I do understand what Dusty was talking about. If you're going to try to represent gun owners in a positive light, then part of what you have to do is educate. Now, sometimes you have to tolerate certain things, like when somebody calls a magazine a clip or something like that. But without belittling them, You want to educate them, and you want to try to show them that you're not some gun-toting moron either. You're not a terrorist. You're not reckless. You're not uneducated. And although I didn't see the video, so it may not be my place to speak, I do understand where Dusty's coming from as far as saying hold up, because I was at the range and I was shooting. I brought 3 rifles with me, and there was a gentleman next to me shooting. He had 1 rifle. He had an AR-15, and he was really more interested in my rifles. And we were talking back and forth, and I let him shoot one of my rifles. And he made some comment about his assault rifle, and I said, "That's not an assault rifle." He says, "How do you figure?" I said, "It's not selective fire." And he didn't understand, so I had to explain to him the definition of an assault rifle. And he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll remember that for next time." I had no idea. I didn't belittle him when I talked to him. We had been having a conversation and whatnot. But he was somebody who was out there who he wasn't an experienced gun guy, but he was trying to be a gun guy, but he still had the information that was just put in his head by the media and all that. And it's part of our job to dispel that stuff. I mean, when these people talk about these, machines of death that can just spew, 30 bullets in a second, and stuff like that. I mean, it's up to us to try to explain that it's not that, So I see where Dusty's coming from.
Yeah, it's like, I think something that DB said one night, about the AK Operators Union guy. He said he saw the AK Operators guy do something wrong, or, put somebody in danger on a video or something, by unsafe range practices. So he unsubscribed him. It's like, people, hey, everybody is human. They make mistakes. I make mistakes. That's generally how people, learn is first they make a mistake, then they, pick themselves off from the dirt, dust themselves off, and you try to make a different mistake next time, So I don't think anybody from the NRA is perfect. I know I'm not perfect.
No, but I'm just saying, does this mean that you're also going to buy a Springfield Armory next too? Because I got to tell you, I had no intention of getting a Springfield Armory, but after this whole debacle in Illinois, I'm definitely not. But really what affects me is Rock River Arms. I buy AR-15 parts from them, but I won't be anymore. So. Well,
I'm not going to flush my 1911 down the toilet or anything.
Yeah, Yankee Marshall says he's not going to give up his M1A, but I'm just saying we vote with our wallets. We vote with our wallets. I mean, I got screwed on an appliance by Home Depot. I'm not giving them my business for a year. They don't really care, but in my mind, I'm voting with my wallet. So if Dusty doesn't want to support the NRA, or maybe it's a temporary thing, maybe it's a permanent thing. It's just we vote with our wallets.
Yeah. Well, you have a choice. There are other Second Amendment organizations out there that do lots of great work, and Every Second Matters has a whole list of them on their website.
In my situation, if we'd have made it to one of the gun shows, I probably would have renewed. I was just putting it off till I went to a gun show.
Yeah, because sometimes they give you free admission to the show, or if you go to Bass Pro Shop, when they do it, they give you a $10 gift card. So you pay $35 for the membership, and you get a $10 gift card. So it's really like paying the $25 when they have the specials. So.
Cool.
But yeah, it is up to us to educate people who are new to guns, or who have no experience with guns, who are scared of guns only because of what they've heard in the media and seen in the movies, and they have no idea. And without trying to scare them, without having to force them to go to the range if they don't want to go to the range or anything, but just to let them know. I've gone to safety meetings for my job where we've had the local police department in there talking about threat assessments, and I've had the human resource manager spout off BS facts about guns. I've corrected her. She's looked at the cop, and he's shrugged his shoulders and goes, "What do you want me to tell you? He's right." So, I mean, you've got these people with these preconceived notions, and then they really need to understand that, there's more to it than just bullets and magazines and things like that. So.
Yeah, well, I've never gone to one of those. They have them from time to time in Hawaii. Those active shooter, scenarios, police briefings, how to deal with an active shooting. And I'm just like, I would appreciate if the police could just stay out of it the way and give me a clear field of fire. I don't need them to tell me how to deal with an active shooter.
Well, Hawaii, I'll stop you right there. A la Colion Noir, it's active threat. Okay, we call it active threat because I'm an active shooter and I'm not going into my work to shoot up the place.
Well, but that's what they call the meetings. That's what they. That's what they.
And they do. And our local police department says they're working to change it to active threat because people who shoot competitively, people who shoot recreationally, people who are in the 2A community who are not bad guys are offended. And I'm really not one to be politically correct, but this time I'm going to be PC. If somebody says active shooter, I'll tell them active threat. If they don't want to change, that's fine. I'm not going to take it to the nth degree, but because it really is more of a threat situation. And actually, I'm an active threat to that active shooter if he does come into my building, because even though I'm not armed, I'm going to do what I can to get people to safety if I have to. And if I get a chance, I'm going to take the gun from them and beat the snot out of them. But more than likely, though, I mean, the way things are when most of these workplaces, you're not allowed to be armed. I don't think it's right. But if we did have some people in the building that were armed, I think that would be enough. That would be a deterrent to say some disgruntled employee would say, I know there's 6 guys in there with guns and they practice. I'm not going back. Right now, everybody knows nobody's got a gun. And if they wanted to come back and shoot up the place, if they were on a mission, there's nothing to stop them because the police are, even though they're down the street, they can't get in the building fast enough. So, and I know somebody could be listening going, Squib, you're not going to take the gun out of it and beat the snot. Probably not. It'd probably get me killed. But, I'm just saying that I'm not going to live in fear. But, there's a terminology thing right there, active threat, people.
Yeah, well, fear is, I think somebody said what makes men afraid is the things that they've said and done and what they know about themselves. So, otherwise, there's not really much to be afraid of. It's like an emotion. I mean, I have an irrational fear of heights, but, I don't think anything else really scares me. So,
aren't you on the 3rd floor?
Yeah, I know. That's what I told when we took the helicopter flight over the Grand Canyon. I told the helicopter pilot, so we're over the Grand Canyon. I'm afraid of heights. You know that, right? We're like, like 2,000 feet over this giant chasm. So when I was in Vegas with the family, took a tour, helicopter tour from Vegas to over the Grand Canyon. It's a big canyon, but conscious threats. I think one thing that's funny about my AK Operators Union T-shirt is just that if somebody doesn't like me to the point where they're thinking about committing a violent act, they just see the T-shirt, just the silhouette of that AK on there, and they're just like, nope, we're not going to fuck with that guy. So
that's why I'm pro open carry. I mean, pretty much everybody I hear in gun channels says they don't like open carry, and I can understand why. They probably think that if people see people openly carrying guns, it's just going to scare more people. And my initial assessment of it when I started seeing open carry in Michigan, it had been around for a while. I just hadn't seen anybody do it. It did. I was kind of thinking these guys are trying to make a statement and they're just scaring people. But after giving it some thought, I thought about it and I said, I'd rather the bad guys see openly that I have it, not wonder if I have it concealed, but see that I have it openly. And it's going to make him think more about this guy's really serious about being willing to use this to protect himself or protect his family because he's got the thing out in the open, and that's deterrence enough. I mean, a lot of stuff has to do with just deterrence. Yeah, if they know you got it, they're not going to mess with you, right?
Yeah, guns, prevent more violence just by their existence. I mean, if my T-shirt prevents somebody from committing an injudicious violent act, then so be it. But I think the problem with open carry is that, there's just so many sheeple that they just, a gun means, it's like a wolf in the fold, and
here's the thing. If I walked into Walmart with with a gun in a holster out in the open on my hip. And I got into the building, and people are looking, and people are looking, and people are looking. And I made it all the way to the back of the building. And then, I turned around and I made it towards the front. And as I'm going, I'm throwing things in my car and doing this and doing that. At all these different points, I've had a chance to pull out my firearm and discharge it and kill as many people as possible. And I'm not pulling out a holster. I'm not waving around. I'm making any threats. I'm not looking at anybody the wrong way. And I've been walking throughout this whole store. If at any point I was dangerous, how would I have made it all the way to the back of the store, or if I was all the way in the back of the store, now I'm working my way forward. I'm not working my way forward, shooting the place up. So at a certain point, I think, I'm not saying on the first time I went in there like that, that everybody would be used to it. But I think if they saw enough people do it enough times, they'd start to realize, oh, these are guys that are perfectly, normal and safe, and they're no threat. A bad guy's not going to come in with it strapped with a flap holster. I have a flap holster, for Pete's sakes, okay? Come in with a flap holster and calmly walk in. They're going to come running in, guns blazing. They're not going to,
Well, most people haven't put any thought into anything like that. It's just like sheep. They see, they see, what they assume is a threat because it looks like something that a sheep doesn't carry, and it's like you're not a sheep too. And then you must not. Okay, you're not a sheep, so I better run away from you. It's just psychology, but
I'd be a little bit worried about the Pro 2A guy who decides to open carry, and it's totally legal, and he does it, and for some reason or another, he just does something stupid with it. And I don't necessarily mean pull it out and start shooting people, but maybe, I don't know, he just maybe makes inappropriate remark if somebody says something to him, or they do call the cops on him, and the cops say, sir, they'd like you to leave, and he makes a scene as opposed to going, all right, fine, the store don't get my business anymore, and calmly walks out. Or if he did have a sidearm on, and he was wearing a shirt that says, people don't kill people, guns kill people, or something like that. And now he's, that sort of thing. I mean, there's just an appropriate way to do it and an inappropriate way to do it. I just think that if it happens enough times and people see that it's not only is it legal to do in some places like where I live, but that we're no threat. If anything, we're deterring bad. No bad guy is going to want to come in and rob Walmart now because I'm in there. Now, does that mean I'm looking for a fight? No, it does not. I don't want that in my life. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. But just that it's there, that guy's going to be like, you know what, I think I'll go next door to the other store. I'll go to Kmart and rob them. So that's just my opinion on it. It's not any fact. It's just an opinion.
Oh, boy. So, and you guys got some gun laws that you wanted to talk about specifically in Michigan, some bills?
Yes. So I got an email from the NRA ILA, and I get them for things related to my state. Do you get them for just Hawaii stuff?
Yeah, they'll send me. Well, actually, I get stuff from the Gun Owners of America, the postcards to send in to your representatives every time there's some national thing, and yeah, I get it for Hawaii. From either GOA and I get the national stuff with the cards. But I mean, Hawaii has a bunch of hopelessly, Bloomberg bought left wing, uber deep blue. I mean, we're hopeless. The state is freaking hopeless, and we're just trying to get the lefties out of the Republican Party. The Hawaii Republican Party is a whole nightmare scenario. But I don't want to.
You'll see anti-gun bills come through Michigan from time to time, and they don't get very far. I'm not saying that one will never pass, but I've seen a lot of them, and they fizzle out pretty quick. The pro-gun stuff is slow to get enacted, but we can be hopeful based on the past in this state. Things have been getting better and better very slowly. But there's two bills. One, Senate Bill 366, and that's basically it would establish a provisional concealed carry permit for citizens between the ages of 18 and 20, because right now you cannot get a CPL, a concealed pistol license in Michigan, unless you're 21 years or older. and it's more or less stating kind of, if you can be 18 years old and in the military and carry a gun, why can't you be 18 years old and a citizen of the state and carry a gun? This bill, I hope it goes through, but it's not a very strong bill. The way they've reworded it, they've just taken an old law and just rewritten some parts of it. It just didn't look that strong to me. The other bill, which got a lot more of my attention, is House Bill 4554. And what that would do is that would get rid of pistol registration in the state of Michigan. All handguns have to be registered in the state of Michigan. So whether you buy from a private individual or you buy from an FFL, if you have a handgun, you have to register it. You register with your local law enforcement, and they send it to the state police. And then when it gets transferred again to, if you ever decide to sell it or whatnot, then, all the paperwork's got to be done again for the new owner, et cetera, et cetera. This bill would get rid of that. It would actually make it, if I'm reading it right, it looks like it would make it optional. If you wanted to do it, you could. But if you didn't want to, you don't have to. It went from shall to may in the wording of the bill. And then there's also a provision in here, and it states that you can have your previous pistol registrations stricken from the record. They have 14 days to do so. So this is a really important one, because I know there's some states out there where they do not have a handgun registry, and I would like to see Michigan go to that, because it's just a bunch of BS. Not to mention, it just makes getting a gun more paperwork, and it takes longer, and you got to file this stuff. And
I got a whole list of complaints about Hawaii. I mean, we got the whole rap back list. I mean, I'm not paying $75 to be on some rap back list, and I don't know at what point having a Republican majority at the national level, and even, I mean, if every state law that's stupid has to be appealed all the way to Supreme Court to get anywhere, I'm waiting for that law to go away before I buy any more guns, because I don't want to pay $75 to be on a rap back list. It's like you're not supposed to. It's supposed to be illegal to have that, and so. I mean, I already have enough guns for now, but yeah, it's like I bought, like I was saying earlier, I got like the Blu-ray DVD of the new version remake of Magnificent Seven. I was like, I gotta have a Gatling gun, because it fires 300 rounds per minute at 45-70 ammo. But Colt sells them for $56,000, so it's way out of my budget. And that and the Lapua rifle, are on my bucket list, but I can wait till the laws change. I'm hoping that we have Republican presidents for the next, like Trump, Pence, and then another Republican after that. But who knows what the future holds? And I was telling Dusty about because he's holding on to his grain about the whole market going crazy today. And if Dano was listening about Uber, basically Hertz rental cars, they lost a couple $100 million and their stock got slammed, and Uber loses $2 billion. A lot of people are switching to Lyft from Uber, but their stock goes way up, so the market's crazy. The market doesn't make any sense. And it's a catastrophic bubble territory of price to earnings ratio, with Dow Jones at 21,000 and NASDAQ at 6,000, over 6,000. Anyway, I won't get too into that, but
I thought about the Lyft Uber thing. What if it's like the old format wars? What if it's Betamax versus VHS? Lyft versus Uber.
I used to have a condo in Reseda, and whenever I think of Betamax, this guy that I rented out one of my rooms to in my Reseda condo, because I needed money to help pay the mortgage, and he had a Betamax, and he had like porn on his Betamax, and I recorded the TV show over it, and he was so pissed. I was like, well, I like, it was like a tour of duty. This guy taped over like Little Oral Annie with a tour of duty, and because I like Tour of Duty, that TV show, about Vietnam War, and he was so pissed.
I too have Tour of Duty on Betamax in a box somewhere. Yeah, I've got an L750 or L830 tapes. Yeah.
But I wound up just buying the DVD for that show.
Yeah.
So I want to say hi out there. I don't know if Zero Pence is still out there. Faith Abounds, Melody Acres, and Patrick. Yeah, I'm not okay with people shooting over, bullets by anybody's head. Last time I was at the range, somebody almost shot me when I was, but he didn't mean to do it. He was just, being an idiot. But he doesn't have a YouTube channel or anything, so he just wasn't looking or paying attention to anything until realized I was standing 10 feet from his rifle target. When he stopped shooting, he's like, "Whoops." And then he was just shaky for the whole. And then he decided that's all the rifle shooting for this guy. Packed up and left. But yeah, range safety comes first. So do you have? Is there any other screen shares on that you had, or you had some screen shares that you wanted to do from your trip to the range?
So I've got 16 pictures I took on Sunday morning. So I got an email about Wednesday. From the Department of Natural Resources, and they run some of the gun ranges out here in Michigan, the public ones. And there's a lot more private gun clubs than there are public ranges, but the public ranges are usually really cheap, or they're free. They just have different rules or whatnot. It's a little bit more strict to shoot at a DNR range. But the one I go to is 10 minutes from my house, and I usually have a good time there. Now, this one is not one that I've ever been to before. It's an hour and 10 minutes from my house. They sent me an email. I'm on their mailing list. When I go to sign in at the range and pay my $4 for the day, you have the option to put your email address on the sheet when you sign in. So they've got my email on file, and they send me updates on all the local ranges, what's going on with them. If they're closed for the holidays or they're doing remodeling or whatever it is. And on this one, the email read that they were considering shutting down the range and that the place was trashed and that there was a cleanup on Sunday and they were looking for volunteers and what time it was. And, you got to bring your own food and water and stuff. And this range is out in the woods north of a small town in the lower thumb of Michigan. And there's nothing out there, other than farms and whatnot. And it's just it's been around. The guys there told me it's been around for decades. They call it the Lapeer Pit. It's just north of Lapeer, Michigan. I thought it was a gravel pit, but it's actually not. It's just a hill, and they've just got some concrete blocks, and you just back your car right up to the concrete block or your truck, drop the tailgate, drop the hatch, open the trunk, whatever, and set up your stuff on the concrete block and start shooting. And then when, you need to change targets, you just get everybody's attention and they call ceasefire and people go down and change targets. Now they'll let you shoot anything.
Yeah, that's the problem I had is I called ceasefire, but the guy was just bobbing his head up and down, picking up brass. And I thought he nodded his head that he heard me say ceasefire. And I did a big signal with my hands, like, ceasefire signal time, incomplete pass or whatever. But he had with his head, ear protection on, he couldn't hear what I was saying, and he didn't actually acknowledge me. He just was bobbing his head up and down, looking for brass, like a chicken pecking for food or something. And so, what I thought was an acknowledgement wasn't. And the next thing I know, I go down to get my steel target, and there's like ricochets bouncing right by me. And it's like shit.
What I was able to tell on my one trip, this is my only trip to this gun range. I've known about it, but I've never gone there before. Talking to the guys there, they were all regulars. They're a bunch of good old boys, and they don't take kindly to that. They make sure everybody is has stopped shooting, and they know that, that wouldn't go over so well over here. But I will say that you do get a mix up here. What they were telling me is a lot of people come up from the city to shoot up there because up there's no range officer. There's nobody telling you can't shoot rapid fire. You can shoot any sort of target. I mean, there were pots and pans and ceramic, and people had clay pigeons out there. They had balloons out there, steel targets, tannerite, you name it. So people just shoot up anything. They actually pulled 2 propane tanks out of the woods that were riddled with so many holes that they I mean, more than Swiss cheese. I mean, it was just something else. So because there's no range officer out there and it's open 7 days a week and anybody can go and you don't have to pay a fee or whatnot, people will drive over an hour to come out there and just blast away. There are guys that shoot full autos out there. It's totally legal. Everything's fine. But the problem is, since there's nobody policing it, people get really loud and they leave a big mess. So they were having this cleanup, and the email stated that they were considering shutting down the range because they were going to do an environmental study on it to just see if they were tearing up the environment and also for the noise, because these farm communities in Michigan are getting bought up and turned into subdivisions, and you've got all these rich people from the city with their big expensive houses that are sitting on what used to be a farm, and they don't like the people that have been there forever, making noise with their guns and driving their trucks and their tractors and stuff like that. Well, that's what happens when you move out to the country. So I decided I would go out to this cleanup, both to be a positive representative of the 2A community and just to check this place out. So I drove out there, and you can see right here, I don't know, is it screen sharing?
Yes, I have it on present to all. So
you come down a dirt road through the woods, and there's just a gate. And I guess whoever's done it at the end of the day locks it or unlocks it. And you see just 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can see here's the vehicles backed up against these concrete, and it's when you run out of spaces, you're waiting. It's first come, first serve. So you can just park out on the dirt road, I guess. I don't know. I just went there to clean. And, they've got the rules up here, and this is all DNR stuff. And you see spring cleanup. May 7th. So that's what they're for. Also, do not shoot barrel. You have to write that. Well, apparently the people that come out there, so many of them they don't respect firearm safety, and they don't respect the land, and they don't respect the neighbors, and they just tear the place up.
Yeah, I know. Putting up little signs and notes like "Do not shoot barrel." It remind one time I was out to the place where the people use for a range where I live, and somebody had basically there was like this little bench table that somebody had set up with scrap wood and stuff that people used, and somebody had left a note because basically somebody's taken their dog out there, and there was a big pile of dog shit right by the table, and they did clean it up. So somebody left a note like, "Pick up your dog shit, asshole," and left it on a piece of paper right there. And it was just, and so
I guess they're trying to get their attention.
Yeah, and but my range, the kids go out there and party sometimes at night, because hardly anybody ever goes there, and so if some guy wants a place to make out with his girlfriend, some teenager, then that's like the place to go. But daytime, there's usually not that many people there, on the weekdays. On the weekends, it used to get pretty crowded, but ever since they passed the new hunting regs, where shooting handguns is basically against the hunting regs, and they can seize your weapons if they catch you doing it, then not so many people go up there anymore for that. It's hunting calibers only. But yeah, as far as cleaning up the place, that my place really needs to clean up bad, but it would take 100 people to clean that place up because it's been just trashed for years.
I seen Yankee Marshall did a video once where he was at a cleanup, and I said, well, hell, if he can do it, I can do it. And like I said, I wanted to try, check this place out. I didn't bring any guns. I didn't, according to the email, it made it sound like, the next day on the 8th, it would be shut down until the DNR could do an evaluation. And that was far from the truth. And then I started talking to these guys, come to find out 4 different emails were sent out to different people. And I just got one of them. And they said, no, they're not closing it down, but they are going to do an evaluation. And when we were done with the cleanup, everybody backed their cars right up and started to shoot. So, here's an idea. Here's the concrete blocks, and you just back your vehicle up to it, and you shoot downrange. And this metal box is what we were picking up all the steel. There was hardly any brass laying around anywhere. It was all steel cases, and it's all Russian steel cases. We were joking that the steel comes from Russia, and then we sell it back to China, who then sells it back to us or something like that. Just to give you an idea, I didn't pace it off. I don't know how many yards that is, but this is the berm that you shoot into.
It's a big
So
berm.
I did. Yeah, I walked all the way up to the top, and actually I got up right around here, and I found a fully intact 9mm bullet, not a case, not a complete cartridge, a bullet. Right next to it was a 7.62 by 39 case, and right in front of it was a golf ball that was shot up. So, all up and down this hill, there were clay pigeons that people had planted in the dirt to shoot. There was trash. I don't know how much lead I picked up out of there. I mean, there was just garbage everywhere. At the base, there were tons of fruit that were shot up, and they had a little burn pile going here. They were picking up all the wooden splinters from all the wooden targets that had been shot to pieces. There were scraps of steel all over the place and whatnot. So here's an idea. We'd take a rake and we'd try to rake all these steel cases into a pile. And there's plenty of aluminum in there, but I managed to find a few brass pieces, and they gave me some of the dud rounds that people had ejected that hadn't gone off. That way I could take them apart and reuse the bullet out of them on a reload. And they were just raking these things up. And then I take this that looks like a push broom, but that's actually a magnet. And you run the magnet over the top of the pile, and it picks up all the steel. And it's supposed to leave the trash, and there's a handle on the magnet. So when you go to dump it, you hold the handle here real tight, and then you grab this handle here, and you give it a tight pull. And I mean, you got to put some strength behind it. My arms were sore by the time I was done, but it was a great workout. And I had never used a magnetic rake like this before, and I think it really works great. I might look into getting one. And then here's the sifter. So you would hang the rake over it, you'd pull the handle, and the stuff would fall in there, and they'd rock it back and forth and sift it and pull the anything that wasn't metal out of it and throw it in the trash. And then we took all this and lifted it up and dumped it in that metal box.
Steel really isn't worth that much anymore. I was going to say, Dusty, that's part of all the commodities have been taking a hit because China is just, they've got a credit problem. They've got ghost cities. They don't need, they're basically not buying any iron ore from Australia or copper. And so the mines in Australia's getting hit hard, and their dollar is, they might be the next, country to go cashless and get their, call them their $100 Aussie notes, but without going into the whole, Bitcoin cashless society problem. It's like, I'm just gonna say, all the commodities got trashed, and like iron ore is leading the way down, like for your is that you've got 2 seasons worth of wheat or something like that on your farm, and you're gonna go for 3 seasons, I guess, but I don't know when it's gonna go. Commodities are gonna go back up again, the market's crazy.
The guy that was kind of running it was driving the front end loader, and that's what we used to pick this up, and also to pick up a bunch of bigger pieces of debris out there. And I didn't ask him what he thought he could get for this once it was full, but I did talk to him and a few other guys, and we all agreed that we all had problems taking shell cases, whether they were steel, aluminum, or brass, to recyclers to take because they're worried that they'll explode, even though it's just an empty case and the primer's been, yeah. It goes more to the fact that the public, I guess, isn't that educated on guns. And I'm sure the scrap value for this wasn't very significant, but it's a lot better taking this in to be recycled and even if you just give it to them for free as opposed to dumping it in the trash.
Yeah, the public's not educated about a lot of things. I mean, it's not just the public that's not educated. The politicians aren't educated. I can't be a walking, talking encyclopedia and try and teach everybody everything, but
no. But it was nice, these guys, I never met them before, and we're just all talking guns and whatnot, and I told them the pictures I'm taking, I'm not trying to get anybody's faces in the pictures, and I said I'm going to post them on gun channels, and nobody knew what that was, but they were, I said it's like Facebook for gun guys, and they're, oh, okay, but nobody ever, said don't do my picture, or don't do this, or.
You brought up the magic word, Facebook. Guess who's making a run for president? Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. He's going to make a run for president. So it might be, Donald Trump versus Zuckerberg next year. either that or Clinton. It'll be Clinton versus Zuckerberg again for the Democratic nomination, and it's going to be Facebook. He's gonna. If you thought Facebook was a political mess this election season, wait till next season if Zuckerberg's running.
Okay. If ever there was a really valid reason for prepping, I think you just quantified it. So we started out with a dumpster that didn't have very much stuff in it. This is the back of it. On the other side is the dirt road that you drive down to get there. And there's the front end loader. And then we ended up filling that thing. And that's all non-metal. So... and then we filled the bucket. He had talked about maybe getting a second bucket, but everybody wanted to shoot. So they said, all right, one full bucket's enough. So we filled that with steel. And then afterward, that's what the range looked like when everybody got off the range.
So much cleaner than my range, I got to tell you. My range, it's like, a junkyard.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see, look at all these clay pigeons, right? And I mean, they're burning the wood there. I mean, all up and down this, it's all embedded in there. I know it's kind of pixelated.
That's one thing I wanted to mention about burning wood. If you're doing a campfire, probably picking up a bunch of processed wood, it's going to have chemicals in it. So you probably don't want to stand. If you're going to burn it, okay. But, using it for a campfire that you're going to be standing near, it's going to have, it could have, chemicals that are not good to inhale. So,
So that brings up a good point. One of the guys was saying that they had to tell these people that not to bring their TVs out there. People were trying to bring TVs out there and shoot up their TVs. And I guess they got mercury or phosphorus or something in them. And the DNR said, if somebody shoots up a TV out here and we find out about it, we're going to do a test on the dirt and we'll shut the place down. Like, wow.
They have shot up TVs, gun safes, propane tanks, you name it at my gun range. There's, everything has been shot up and blown up. The gun range, with either binary explosives or God knows what, but...
Well, the people in the subdivisions down the street don't like to hear the tannerite go off, but I mean...
I can imagine.
It just turn up the volume on your TV a little louder or whatnot. But I went up to the top of the berm, and I took this picture from up there. You can just see, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then they took out a couple, 17, 18, 19. So we got 19 or 20 spots that you can shoot from. And when they started shooting, these guys just backed all their vehicles right up to these blocks, and somebody set up a steel target out here, and everybody else was getting their stuff ready. And some people were just ripping. They were going to just shoot into the dirt. They weren't really looking, and other people were setting up targets. So some people just come out there just for fun, and some people come out there to practice. But you can rapid fire all day long. At the other DNR ranges, you cannot rapid fire, and some people just they don't like that. Rapid fire is fun, but it's not necessary. I don't think it should be against the rules, but each range is different. So I honor the range rules. Here, it's not a rule. And that's one of the things that the people complain about is because there's so many stations and so many people shooting so fast that it's just so loud. And, I say, well, you're out in the country, deal with it. I mean, what are they going to do when they manure the fields out there, right?
Sometimes it's like great to have a range officer deal with, people, because it's like, when I was in Behind Enemy Lines tour and arranged with my father in California, I mean, this one guy, first he rapid fired, and then he flagged me with his pistol. I just looked at him like he was crazy, and then before I could even say anything, the range officer was all over him. Keep the pistol pointed down range, and all that. I didn't have to say anything, so it's nice to have that, but we don't really have a range officer because it's not an official range; it's just a hunting area. So that gets used as a range because there's nothing else. The politicians have never, ever, for 40 years, people have been trying to get a range to prove that this is Hawaii. Nothing that is related to the word gun gets approved. So
well,
anyway.
I mean, they can close down the DNR ranges, but there's still going to be the gun clubs out there, and people can shoot on their property if they have enough acreage. You know, you don't necessarily have to have a farm, and there's plenty of people that have got acres and acres of land. And I don't think it's right to take away these public ranges. We pay taxes, and I think people should have a place where they can get together. I mean, everybody was just talking and
Yeah,
having
but
a good time.
it should be limited to just the only people who can shoot their handguns are people with, you know, acres and acres of land. It should be everybody, you know.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and so that's like the problem we have in Hawaii. One of the problems, you know. But
we do have lots of indoor ranges around here too. If you don't want to deal with the weather, I know some people, they don't like to shoot outside because, well, they also drink lattes, so whatever. But I mean, I like to be outdoors. The reason I don't go to the, well, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, it's like these are the same people that get pedicures, but these are the same men, I should say, to get pedicures. It's like, go outside, get a little sunburnt, whatever. But the indoor ranges charge by the half hour. They're fairly expensive, and sometimes there's a wait. And you know, if I can shoot all day for free or all day for $4, I'll be outside. And okay, so I can't rapid fire. I don't care. But everybody's different. You want to pay the money, you got it to spend. Go spend it. That's fine. You know, that just makes more room for me at the $4 range. So it's all good. It all works out. But I don't like to see any of the ranges get closed. And I did have fun, and I learned a little bit about, you know, I've done some work cleaning up ranges before, actually. But I learned a little bit. Like I said, I never used that magnetic brake before. And here's something that's funny. So I'm in there, and everybody's about my age or older. All right. So one of the guys was 70 years old, and we were talking, and this young kid comes walking up, and he asks, "Hey, why isn't anybody shooting?" And he said, "Didn't you get the email? There's a cleanup." And he points at the sign, right? And the kid goes, "Oh," and turns around and walks away. And the old guy goes, were you coming here to shoot? He goes, "Yeah, I was going to shoot today." He goes, "Well, why don't you join us and help clean?" And the kid turns around and walks away. This 70-year-old guy went over the concrete block and chased him out to the road and said, "Hey, what's your problem, kid?" And he says, "I got to go. I can't stay." And he says, "You were coming out here to shoot today, right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "So you were going to be here for a couple hours, right?" And the kid says, "Yeah." And he says, "Then why can't you spend a couple hours helping us clean? If you use this range, why don't you help take care of it?" And the kid goes, "I got to go to work." And he turned around and ran away. Snowflake. I mean, he was 20-something. He was the youngest person there that day, except for the people that brought their kids. And it's just like, I was so just, it was disappointing. It was disappointing. And this old guy had to shame him, and I don't blame him for doing it. But I mean, the kid would have had time if he was out there, you know, blasting away with his cheap Wolf ammo, but he didn't have time to clean up.
You know what pisses me off the most at the range is when the families bring the whole family down and they don't have like hearing protection for their kids or anything. They just have like one set of hearing protections, you know, and like there's like 6 people there, you know, and so I gotta like see if I don't have any hearing protection, extra things to give them, because like, you know, you really want to make your kids deaf, you know, having them at the gun range without any hearing protection. I mean, why did people do that, you know? But anyway, I don't want
on the gun channels. On the gun channel side, Clay's saying, I thought men got manicures, pedicures. What's the difference, dude? I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, there's a lot of chicks that shoot down too, so you know they can get whatever they want, you know. So.
Oh, I like this. Clay says, "If Zuck becomes president, we are fucked." And then Jonathan goes, "Zucked."
Zuck. Yeah, I mean, really, it's like I said, if Hillary Clinton wins, I'm going to grab all my, you know, guns and as many 50 caliber ammo cans and just run screaming into the jungle until somebody else is president, and you know, I'm not coming out. And so I think it would be the same thing if Zuckerberg is elected, except we'd have to like blow up every internet network connection so they can't spy on us. I mean, Facebook is like everywhere and everything, you know. They're almost worse. Are they worse than Google? You know, right? It's another weird economic thing that happened today is I think Apple. You know, Apple passed like $800 billion of market capitalization, which was some new record or something, the most capitalized company in the world. And what happened was, Warren Buffett said he didn't get into Google fast enough, and he apologized to his Berkshire Hathaway investors, and then But he said, the Apple iPhone is a great product that, or the iPhone 8 or whatever the latest one is. He said something nice about Apple, and then it just shot through the roof, and for no reason, and it just like the price soared, and the most active trading item on at the New York Stock Exchange today was, or the Nasdaq, I think, was call options for Apple, stock, and it's so, there was like no reason for it to go up like that. But I will tell you this. My experience has been, I could tell you, I lost money shorting Apple because I thought, their computers suck, but the stock just keeps going up. Eventually it'll all come tumbling down. But nobody buys their computers. It's called Apple Computer, so I shorted it. Stupid me. I lost so much money doing that. Don't short Apple. Whatever you do. That's my own personal experience on that. Whatever you do out there, don't short Apple computers. I know eventually it'll go down tremendously but right now it's like, it's been unstoppable for so many years. It's got the largest market capitalization in the world of any company. I think $800 billion of market cap. They could buy, a lot of countries for just, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, but are they countries anybody really wants?
$800 billion is a lot of money, for a market cap, completely independent of what they're making, just people keep buying their stock, it's like, it's not too late, it's only going to go up, I mean, eventually it'll go down, but I got to tell you, don't short Apple. I tried once, and I'm sorry I tried. Then what really sucks is when you like buy, puts, or you short Apple, and then you turn on the TV and you see those damn, YouTube going, some YouTube music, playing in front of an iPhone for an Apple commercial TV, just really pisses you off because, it doesn't matter what their earnings are or anything like that, or how their phones are selling, or if their latest phone doesn't work or blew up or anything. It's just, it keeps going up. It's like, what was that donut company that everybody was all crazy?
Dunkin' Donuts?
No, the other one, Krispy Kreme. It's like, for a while that was the the stock. Everybody in the New York Stock Exchange. There were days when every stock went down, even Apple, but Krispy Kreme would keep going up. It was stupid shit. The market is crazy, man. So yeah, I don't know when you're gonna be able to sell your wheat, Dusty, but whatever you do, don't short Apple computers. I did, and I lost money. So anyway, now that I've reduced our audience by a factor of 10 by talking about stock market shit, let's get back to guns. All right, so you're done with your screen share stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I just think that the whole gun channels community thing. It was just, I didn't go out there and hand out flyers or pamphlets or anything. I only mentioned gun channels twice, and both times I got the reaction, "Huh? What?" But still, I thought it was good to just get out with other Second Amendment guys, and we talked guns, and we were talking reloading, and we were all trading stories and joking and laughing around, and these guys were like, "Yeah, we ain't never seen you out here before. What, you drove all the way from where?" That sort of thing. And it's just that's something else that people who aren't into guns don't understand, is that usually gun guys can get along and hang out and just have a good time. And I mean, we're gonna always have our opinions that we're gonna disagree on. But,
like you start a 1911 or Glock versus Glock argument, then, or AK versus AR, then the gloves come off and everybody's an idiot. So
I should have walked around with a clipboard and asked everybody. So, what was the most significant contribution to victory in World War II? Was it the 1911 or? I would have got 20 different opinions.
Yeah, well, I'd vote for the weather, but it definitely wasn't. It wasn't the 1911. It wasn't a handgun. I mean, people don't fight wars with handguns. They might have one, but I mean, Germans only gave handguns to their officers, I believe.
Yeah, and nowadays, at least in the Marine Corps, officers and staff NCOs have sidearms. NCOs, non-commissioned officers, enlisted guys, they don't have a sidearm unless they have a job that requires them to carry a sidearm. Now, there's been different times during our military's history where they've trained everybody on sidearms, and then there's been times where they haven't because they've wanted to save money on training and ammunition and whatnot. So
yeah, I think that at one point it was that they gave sidearms or like 1911s to people whose whatever they did prevented them from carrying a rifle, like if they were a mortar crew or in a tank, or if they were a cook, or whatever. If they were something that they weren't carrying a rifle, then they gave them a sidearm. There was something.
I mean, you said it right though. That your rifle is your primary weapon, and that's true. Your sidearm is your backup weapon. You would use it say you were a machine gunner, or you shot a BAR or something like that, or like you're talking about mortar crew, and now your primary weapon runs out of ammo or it goes down. You've got your sidearm to go to. Or if you're guarding a prisoner, you might have a pistol as opposed to a full-size rifle. Although you could guard them with something else too. You can guard them with a submachine gun, or you could use a rifle if there's nothing that says you can't. It's just there's sometimes, if you're in a confined space or you're under certain circumstances, it might be more ideal. I mean, obviously, crawling through a tunnel, you're gonna want a handgun. So
tunnel rats. Okay, I wanted to. Last week's chat was a lot about the Navy, and we had mentioned we got into submarines a little, and there was naturally I was watching the Military History Channel, and they had some stuff with Donitz, who was the commander of the German submarine force, and they had some stuff about the U.S. Navy on the Military History Channel and the submarines during World War II. So. The interesting part about it, I thought, was submariners got paid 50% more than regular Navy people, and what actually changed the battle in the Pacific for them was like in the beginning when the war first started, they used submarines and they went after Japanese warships, and what happened was they had too big of a casualty rate. They were losing subs, so they went after. They did unrestricted submarine warfare, and they specifically avoided Japanese warships and targeted their merchant ships, their cargo ships, and because obviously cargo ships are less dangerous than going after a warship, and they lost like a lot less ships, and they sunk so much stuff that the Japanese were afraid to send anything out, and eventually they had to just use they ran out of cargo ships. They were using sampans and anything, and so a lot of the Navy was just, if you were on a sub, you would be out there, stopping sampans to see if they were, carrying Japanese, military cargo or not. And because they literally sunk all of their, they stopped attacking warships pretty much, and they just attacked, the cargo ships, and that's how they, they deprived, the army of the Japanese army of, ammo, food, all those things that the army needs. So I thought that was interesting that they got paid. What happened when you went on a sub compared to, because you were talking about serving on a, like a battleship, and what you were serving on is that, the sailors on a sub got paid like 50% more than regular sailors, but when they pulled into port, they always got the best food, but it didn't last very long because it's a small little boat and they can't, they don't have room for tons of food. So, but they always got the first class food. So they ate really great for about a week or two, and then they were on sea rats the rest of the time. And it looked like an awful way to serve on those, because that you were in like a a bunk area, and the air was foul, smelled of diesel, battery acid, and sweat, and it's and like you're underwater in a hole the whole time, and it just smells terrible, and God help you if you're claustrophobic, but it was just it was looked like a pretty terrible way to live. So I can see why they paid him more, and just getting up on deck was nice, when you would run on the ocean, you could go topside, because boy, living in one of those submarines, it's like, boy, it looked terrible.
If you ever want to do a show on submarines, I'm up for that. So
yeah, but it was interesting. The other thing that had a big impact on World War II was British radar on their convoy escort ships. So they could, once they could detect surface ships, with radar, and the submarines would attack on the surface when they were in wolf packs, then they could break up the attacks. So when they got radar, that really helped them out a lot. But yeah, I'll be happy to talk about that. The other thing they talked about was the Ultra. When they, got the Ultra machine off of one of the subs, it helped the Bletchley Park code breakers, and eventually Donuts figured it out that their intelligence was compromised. So they added a fourth wheel, and it stumped them for a while. They basically had when they added an extra wheel code, and that was their shark code after the Enigma.
Enigma. You said Ultra. Ultra was the British code, right? It wasn't a British machine. It was wasn't Ultra the name of their code? The Germans use an Enigma device, but the name of the British secret code was Ultra or something, right?
Well, Ultra was like the Bletchley. That's what the intercepts were called. The Ultra intercepts, they call them.
Okay.
And
that's my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, at Bletchley Park was where all their cryptography experts were, and basically, so they were called Ultra. They weren't called Enigma intercepts; they were called Ultra intercepts. But it was off the Enigma machine, and so eventually the Germans added an extra wheel to their, and it took the British a while to figure it out. And I think what helped them was that they figured out that the most common message that was sent was they could figure out what the most common message sent was. I forgot what it was, whether it was like convoy sighted or something like that. And so once they figured out that most of the message would start with convoy sighted, they could figure out what the extra wheel was encrypting as. So, but it took them a while after they switched codes. But the Germans cracked the British code too, so everybody was spying on everybody else. So nothing has really changed after all this time. If anybody watched Congress today, it was all about the Russians hacking the election, and God. I mean, so a lot of the websites I watch are, on the internet for current events and financial news are, Russian government, websites, but I don't watch Russian TV, but Zero Hedge and 24-Hour Gold and stuff like that. It's like you're listening to Tokyo Rose, but you can pick up intel by listening to the enemy sometimes. It's a crazy world. You want to try and figure out what's actually going on. You can't just watch, Fox News. You have to go out on the internet and look around and then try and, get all your information over what's happening in the world. And, there was something else I wanted to read. A really interesting story that affects Hawaii. And let me pull up the story real quick. I had it on. Yeah, thanks to the Jones Act. Let me... It says, this is a story from the Washington Examiner. It says, U.S. would struggle to resupply forces after 30 days of war in Korea, General says. And basically, this is in part because of the Jones Act, which basically states that all the shipping called cabotage, which is inside the United States from U.S. port to U.S. port, has to be done by a U.S. manned crew built and manufactured in the U.S., U.S. Union crew, U.S. built ships, and we just don't have any. And there's no naval capacity, and the ones that we have are getting old. So let me just read this. In the event of all-out Korean War on the Korean Peninsula, the U.S. would be hard-pressed to move troops and weapons to the battle after 1 month because of an over-reliance on commercial air and sea transport, Congress was told Tuesday. The U.S. military has enough planes and ships to flow forces into the war zone for 30 days. But after that, it will become difficult because of the inability to send commercial vessels into a contested war zone, said Air Force General Darren McDougall, commander of U.S. Transportation Command. In testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee, McDougall said he had been closely coordinating with Army General Vincent Brooks, the U.S. Korea commander, about what he would need in the event of a war against North Korea. We have a sufficient force today, but I have talked to Vince Brooks and his staff to provide him with what he needs for the first 30 days organically. Committee Chairman John McCain expressed concern about shortage of military ships and the possible impact on the conflict. Quote, we are reliant to a larger and larger degree on private sector companies, and there are great questions among many experts that we do not have the capability, say in Korea, say in Eastern Europe, to resupply and maintain our ability to carry out success in combat. McCain cited a statistic that it would take 200 flights of a C-17 cargo plane, so 200 C-17 cargo planes, to move one Army brigade combat team and its equipment to Korea. He said, it's not easy, McDougall said, but we can do 200 C-17 sorties. That gives you one brigade combat team, McCain scoffed. I doubt if there's a conflict in Korea that one brigade combat team would be sufficient for us to reinforce our forces on the ground. Yet you're going to need more than one brigade combat team. So, I'm just wondering if they can't even supply the military. How are they going to supply the civilians in Hawaii with food? Basically, they were talking about row ships or roll on, roll off cargo ships, to flow supplies into ports that don't have, advanced port facilities, and let's see what he says here. McDougall testified that the U.S. military cargo ship fleet is aging out and asked Congress to approve the purchase of used commercial vessels as a stopgap measure until new military ships can be built.
Why wouldn't they just reactivate the ships in the reserve fleet?
They're old. They're too old.
Hey, man, you can keep a ship going for a long time.
It says McDougall testified the U.S. military cargo ship fleet is aging out. The Pentagon says that the average age of the military Sealift Command surge fleet needed for rapid response in a crisis is now 39 years. And that over a recent 5-month period, fewer than 60% of Sealift ships were able to activate during planned exercises due to various maintenance problems. Look at Sealift, for example. A look at Sealift reveals the same downward spiral we've seen elsewhere in the military budget cuts. In fewer ships, existing ships gets older, maintenance gets more expensive, more difficult, readiness suffers, the money siphoned from future modernization to pay for current readiness. Yeah, and part of the problem is that, they can't just buy Korean-built or Chinese-built ships. They make cheap cargo ships for cheap. They have tons and tons of ships that they can build for cheap, but the U.S. isn't allowed to ship anything, from one U.S. port to another U.S. port if the ship isn't built in America. And we just don't have any capability to build those kind of ships. And if we did, it would cost a fortune, and of something you could buy for cheap from China or Korea.
Yeah, but America.
Yeah, well, that's why, a box of cereal costs like, $10 here in Hawaii because it has to ship on
You're talking about two different things. So your stuff is commercial. If they were to resupply a military force fighting on the Korean Peninsula, that would be Military Sealift Command. Military Sealift Command isn't going to bring cereal to Hawaii.
Well, but they can't bring anything anywhere, because they can't send commercial ships into a war zone. They need to create special insurance to do that. If the ship gets sunk by a North Korean sub, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for all those cereal boxes floating in the ocean?
We reflagged and escorted those Kuwaiti oil tankers before the Gulf War. So, I mean, you could.
Let's see. There's more. I'll pull some stuff from the Hawaii Free Press on this.
Plus, there's the Military Sealift Command uses mostly civilian crew. There's just a skeleton crew of Navy personnel on board those ships. It's all merchant marine.
Here's what it said.
The Burt Rep is done with civilians.
General McDough ignored the U.S. flag, foreign or international trade fleet of 81 privately owned ships, of which 60 are receiving Maritime Security Program subsidy of $5 million per ship per year in exchange for making the ships available for the military for sealift. This is exactly why the government is paying the subsidy. In addition, during the first Gulf War in 1992, Military Sealift Command used commercial ship brokers and ship chartering practices to charter a significant number of Allied-controlled shipping to augment organic sources and U.S. flag shipping. Contrary to General McDough's reported testimony, the commercial ship owners and operators did sail into the war zone utilizing special war risk insurance coverage. This approach was based upon the British experience in the Falklands War in 1982. General McDough testified there would be a possibility to purchase second-hand ships from the international market, as the government did in the 1980s and early 1990s when they acquired 27 foreign-built deep-sea ro-ros from foreign owners. So ro-ro is a roll-on, roll-off cargo, because a lot of places that you would have to offload the cargo don't have commercial full-scale loading and unloading docking facilities. The practical problem with the proposal is that deep-sea ro-ros, which are excellent for sealift, have not been built since the 1970s and would have to be ordered as new buildings. The extraordinary cost of major ship construction in the U.S. is prohibitive, and the government is finding funding for domestic shipbuilding all but impossible to arrange, while the alternative of constructing these ships far more competitive allied shipyards creates political problems for the military with the maritime industry and their allies in Congress, which means, like the Jones Act. From the 1930s. There is not a national security problem with constructing these kinds of cargo ships in allied shipyards as there would be in terms of design and construction of combatant ships. So let's see, the U.S. government-owned fleet of military useful merchant ships is known as the National Reserve Defense Fleet, NRDF. Section 11 of the Merchant Ship Sales Act of 1946 established the NDRF to serve as reserve ships of the national defense and national emergencies. As of December 31st, 2015, there was a total of 101 National Reserve Defense Fleet ships. The U.S. Maritime Administration, MARAD, the agency of the U.S. Department of Transportation, is responsible for managing the NRDF. How many more acronyms can there possibly be? The active subset of the NRDF is known as the Ready Reserve Fleet, which was formed in 1976 to support worldwide deployment of U.S. military forces, especially Army and Marine components. The 48-ship RRF, Ready Reserve Fleet, provides nearly one-half the government-owned surge sealift capability. MARAD contracts out to civilian ship management companies the management of 48 ships. Let's see. Of the 48 ships in the NRDF, more than half are foreign built, and nearly all were built during the 1970s. The most important subgroup are the 31 deep-sea ro-ros, roll-on, roll-off ships, of which 27 were foreign built in the 1970s, are approaching 45 years of age. The deep-sea ro-ros can efficiently carry military rolling stock, so necessary to support of DoD missions across world's oceans and discharge of cargo at underdeveloped and damaged ports. The deep sea railroads were built in the 1970s largely in Europe to service ports where full container terminal facilities had not yet been constructed and were subsequently replaced by more efficient cellular container ships when container terminals became widely available. During the 1980s and early 1990s, the U.S. DoD was able to take advantage of these foreign-built ships coming out of foreign flag service and acquire highly suitable low-cost ships for conversion to U.S. flag. So the problem really here is that they have to replace all these ships with new U.S.-built ships, and it would cost a fortune. Because of the Jones Act, they can't just buy foreign ships.
I'd prefer that they had American-made ships if they're going to use them for military purposes.
They're just cargo ships. They're not like, not going to have any secret radar or guns or anything on them. They're just cargo ships.
I just said I'd prefer it. I didn't say that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, well, it's just a question of, if it costs like 1,000 times more to have these ships built in America, as opposed to buying them from China.
They'll make a deal.
Maybe we can get Mexico to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, did anybody watch the whole thing with the election in France? Macron won, and what's funny was Marine Le Pen said something pretty funny. She said, "However the election turns out, she said a woman will be running France. If she won, it'd be Marine Le Pen. If she lost, it would be Angela Merkel." So they must think that Germany will be running France or the EU, because she runs the EU pretty much. Germany's the big. But who knows? Everything's going crazy all over in the world. Anyway, anybody got any other important comments here? Let's check out the YouTube side. Yeah, I think you said you typed hazardous pay duty, but I think it was just because it was just submariners got paid more because they're underwater in this foul smelling. The air smelled like diesel, battery acid, and smelly people smell.
Yeah, it was the smell of ass times 75 or 70.
Yeah, so let's see if there's anything I can.
No privacy. Yeah, sleeping under a torpedo.
Okay, somebody's talking about Clay's talking about sharpening shears, or you clean with Ballistol. I did clean some stuff with Ballistol, but I still used after that. I used what did I use? I sprayed the machete down with Ballistol, but I had to use Flitz. Clay was talking about cleaning blades. So basically, I have Flitz. Sorry. You're going to keep it family friendly. Flitz is basically a metal polishing compound. You can get at Ace Hardware; they have it there. I've got super premium polishing paste that I got off the internet off Blade HQ, and I get my pops a Spyderco paramilitary too for Father's Day off of Blade HQ. He said he needed a new pocket knife, so. And that's the best folding knife I know of. And let's see what else. Also have the Metal Glow is another polishing compound I use. So I have 3 metal polishing compounds that I kind of switch between. And yeah, I use Ballistol and just those blue shop towel rags that they sell at either Walmart or Ace or Home Depot or Lowe's. Those blue rags. So just it's enough polishing with the polishing compounds, and then spray with Ballistol. I'm so glad my local gun shop finally got some in, because you can't ship that stuff on an airplane. It's like considered a hazardous material, and they simply will not airmail it to you in Hawaii. So he got some shipped in on a boat, which is how you have to get it in here. So, so it's like I've lived here for like almost 15 years now, and finally, like last year, the end of last year is the first time I've ever seen Ballastol anywhere on this island. So. I was so happy. Anyway, Dusty, how you doing? You still alive out there?
Yeah, we're still here.
So, what's been going on in your life besides you getting your farm ready and stuff for another planting?
Ready. We're ready. It's time. It's just the weather isn't cooperating. We've been having a lot of rain the last 2 weeks. And cold weather.
All right. So I guess it's muddy and cold on your farm, I'm taking it.
Pretty much so. Today was a nice day. We ended up getting some work done today, but no planning or anything, just some other work that needed done.
Did you have any thoughts on the Michigan gun bills that Scoop was talking about earlier?
I kind of agree with him. The 18 to 20-year-old with that, but I think that'll be a hard one to get past. The registration, I have kind of mixed feelings on. I'm more inclined to fees for the concealed carry license, which I've heard they're trying to tie that into that bill somehow.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, the government's a hungry monster. In Hawaii, they're talking about raising all the property taxes, and they just can't. They had to cancel that rail project, and then the federal government is going to want the money that they gave to the state back for the Honolulu rail system in Honolulu. That they basically, it's like they're like $10 or $20 billion over budget, and they spent all the money that the feds gave them, and they're broke. So they want to raise everybody's property taxes.
Well, in essence, they're taxing a right for us. I mean, to have to pay that concealed permit, you're actually paying a tax on a right that you should have.
True.
The government will tax anything, though. They tax. They have rain taxes, air taxes. I mean, I've never seen anything that they won't tax. But
well, they need to raise some federal money so that they can build some new ships in America to bring you your ballast.
I better I better do ballast I did an ammo run like last week. I bought some ammo. I bought some ammo for a gun that I don't have yet. But I forgot I should have picked up more Ballastol. So I guess I have to go back to the gun shop again.
There's nothing wrong with buying in advance.
Yeah, I've got so much damn ammo, though. I'm surprised my whole third floor condo doesn't just collapse into the second floor from the weight of the ammo.
I try explaining that to the insurance company. Over on the YouTube side, High Desert Pioneer and Danny's Off-Grid Flat had jumped in.
Oh, hey, guys. Yeah, Danny was he had a funny story about a strange hotel he stayed in. He did a chat. It was him and his mate went out drinking, and they rented some $40 a night hotel room that had like rats and birds in it or something. Oh boy. And I thought my condo had problems, but it's not as bad as that place he was staying in. And he had to throw a radio downstairs at a drunk from like the top floor. He's on like the top floor of the hotel, and some drunk comes by apparently every night and starts trying to sing outside of the hotel or something and serenade somebody. So he threw a radio down, and the next day they gave him another radio for the next evening. So to throw down. So I don't think he hit anybody with the radio from the third floor, but it was a funny story. There's a lot of interesting people on the internet, you know. But anyway, so hello to everybody out there on YouTube. Anything else that we should talk about on, let's see, about guns or Russians or the Congress or, you know, the Peruta Act? It's still, that Peruta case, I checked this afternoon again, and the case still has not been relisted. And it hasn't been the whole case in the California court, federal court, the Ninth District, where the issue was if you the San Diego sheriff demanded that you show good cause in order to issue a carry permit, and obviously nobody could ever meet their concept of having a good enough reason, and just Second Amendment self-defense wasn't good enough. So it basically had been distributed for conference in the Supreme Court. Was an appeal filed by Gun Owners of America, and a bunch of other people filed amicus of the court briefs in support, and it hasn't been picked up it hasn't been approved for a Supreme Court hearing, and it hasn't been denied a Supreme Court hearing, and it hasn't been relisted. I'm like so it's like in the twilight zone or something. I'm like, what the fuck is up with that? And it's just, I check SCOTUS blog every day, and usually in the past weeks it says distributed for conference, rescheduled, distributed for conference, rescheduled, and then this after the 28th was the last posting for it. And here we are on May 8th, Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, and it hasn't been relisted yet. So I'll just keep my eye out on that case, on the SCOTUS blog, and I don't know what's up with it. It's really in the twilight zone right now as far as how the appeal is. All we can do is wait and watch. Wait for our rights to be restored. It sucks having to take every case to court, to get your rights back. Because there's a Baker case in Hawaii that is the same issue, and there's a couple counties, and boy, whenever I see Dianne Feinstein, she just pisses me off just hearing her talk. And she was on, today, about questioning Yates and Clapper about the whole Russian election thing, on the Senate committee hearing. But I don't know, being a civically, participating in everything can get very tiring, and, trying to be aware of everything, it's a lot of work. So, but I guess you got to keep your head in the game. Got to keep your head on a Second Amendment swivel to keep track of everything. I guess you could just show up at Every Second Matters once a month. On the second of every month, they got a show. I always try and tune in and listen to it. And they usually have somebody interesting on that. And they've got a website with all the Second Amendment organizations that you can join. So if you're not a big NRA fan, there's like a ton of them. A lot of state organizations. And I got my Florida Carry card. And that's one of the organizations I joined. And Gun Owners of America. I think you have to pay extra for a card or something, and which I would, but the process was like they sent me a letter on how to do it, and the letter got lost, and it's like, just call me up and tell me where to get the card. But I'm a member, but they save money by not mailing out cards, I guess, to everybody. So whatever. I renewed. So anyway. Okay, I got my titanium plate and all my prepper gear, and I got another, about 10 ounces of silver, like Friday, a 10-ounce silver bar, and Aussie koala 1 ounce Aussie koala coin, silver coin. There is Australia has a Battle of the Coral Sea coin. It's like a 2-ounce coin, and I saw that Trump was on the USS Intrepid, the museum, of the aircraft carrier, USS Intrepid. And I don't know if that was one of the aircraft carriers at the Battle of the Coral Sea, but he was there the other night with the Prime Minister of Australia, and they talked about aircraft carriers, the Battle of the Coral Sea, and Trump tried to say something nice about Australia. You know, I don't know how many ships they had in the Coral Sea. What they have the Canberra was one of the destroyers that I remember hearing about that particular one. Forgot if that got sunk in some battle and or not. I'm a little hazy on the Battle of the Coral Sea. I know we lost the Lexington, but other than that, I don't remember too much about it.
Yeah, I can't remember the specifics. I'm trying to give a quick look here, see if she
I know.
was there.
I know Australia has a 2-ounce coin commemorating the Battle of the Coral Sea, silver that you can get. Haven't got that one yet. I'll put it on my to-do list.
That's
Never
the one
enough.
on,
Never enough silver. That's
Provident. That's the one on the Provident website.
I forgot which website it was on. It could have been JM Bullion. It could have been Provident. I forget. It could have been SD Bullion. They have one. It's a 2-ounce coin. But I was trying to remember what Australian ships were in that battle. I remember the Canberra. There was an Australian ship that was sunk, but I forgot which one.
Yeah, I don't think Intrepid was in that battle.
All right, but that's where Trump and the Australian Prime Minister had their.
Yeah, I've been on board the Intrepid and I don't even know. Nice, real nice. Let's see here. Oh, Leyte Gulf. No, not the Coral Sea. It was Intrepid was at the Battle of Leyte Gulf. So that was that would have been the Philippines.
This is the Marianas Turkey shoot.
No, I think this would have been after that.
Yeah, and Enrique, I like the Battle 360, and
let's see here. There were 2 American carriers in the Battle of the Coral Sea, but I couldn't tell you which 2 it was. Let's see, Yorktown and
the Lexington got sunk in the Battle of the Coral Sea, or it got fire damage, and then they had to sink it.
Okay.
Yeah, Enrique, they do have. There is a Battle of the Coral Sea coin. Yeah, yep. I don't actually own any silver pandas, but or gold pandas. Yep. I bought a 10-ounce Asahi bar and the Aussie, a 1-ounce Aussie koala bear, in case anybody cares. Adding it to my stash.
Get another Australian kangaroo.
I already have a bunch of those. Well, I bet gold pandas have been holding their value.
Yeah. All right, HVS. I think I'm gonna punch out here.
Okay, we'll figure out who won the Battle of the Coral Sea next week.
Yeah, I'll send you an email about maybe some show ideas. Dusty, I'll talk at you later.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Squib.
sounds good.
Good night.
See you later.
Good night, guys. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, God bless. Simplify, and yeah. So that was our friend from the U.S. Marines in Michigan, and Gun Channel's crew guy, all around nice person, and hey, U.S. Marine, what else can you say? And hey, Dusty, you got anything you want to add before we close out the show?
No.
No, not really. Okay. Okay, so I'll plug Gun Channels once. Check out Gun Channels. It's free to join, and there's a lot of gun guys on there. There's a lot of firearm knowledge, Second Amendment activism, and if you have any gun questions, I'm sure there's somebody who will have an opinion on any question you have. And see, I still have to send somebody a patch and some Kona Guns stickers. Won it about a week or two ago, and I'm just slow on getting out. Thanks for your patience. And let's see, that's about it for this week. See you all next week. Check out Gun Channels. Gunchannels.com is free to join, and it's an interesting place. I did have some problems pushing the like button on some of the when they just did some new software update. Anyway, they'll work it all out eventually. Let's see if I get back to my show to end the show. So God bless America, and thanks everybody for tuning in. See you all next week on Monday when it's the same bat time, same bat channel for Lock and Load. Later on.